Hey my exotical saucies, it's your girl Exotical Sauce with another video, and today I want to talk about the superiority complex in the Black community. And shout out to this content creator. Her name is Beauty Revolution. She really makes some excellent points about why she thinks that there have been recent attacks on the exotical community. And so I just wanted to make a quick video to kind of expound on some of her talking points. So when you get a chance, go on over to her channel and watch her videos. They're really phenomenal, and I'm so proud of my MLS sisters for the ability to break down the colorism argument and finding their voices and having the courage to speak up. And their courage has in turn inspired me to make my channel and find my voice as well. So one reason why I believe that there has been attacks against the exotical community from Black people is because Black people have a superiority complex. The same way that they accuse whites of having a superiority complex towards them, they now have that same superiority complex towards exoticals. For example, let's take two cities, one Black and one white. Post-slavery, during the segregation era, whites had the wealth, whites had the power, the education, and the industry, and blacks did not. So whites felt that because they had all the power and the wealth and blacks did not have it, that blacks needed them, and without them they would fall on their faces. So they withheld their power and their industry and their education and their wealth in the hopes that Black people would fall on their faces and crawl into the wilderness somewhere and die. Whites told Black people they could not come into their white towns or use their hospitals or schools, and that they had to make their own, only with the smug expectations that blacks would fail. But when Black people created flourishing cities, in spite of that bred white resistance, and those cities burned. Due to the superiority complex that whites had, they felt that Black people needed to stay in their poor, poverty-stricken lane. How dare you think that you are on the same level as me? You are not me. I'm better than you. So those communities burned because the proof of a flourishing Black community dismantled the superiority complex that they once had. Fast forward to 2024, Black people nowadays are exhibiting the same symptoms of that same superiority complex, and they are inflicting it upon mixed race and light-skinned Black people. They now are telling us to get out of their spaces and get out of their communities, and we're not the same, and that our contributions aren't the same as theirs. Our suffering was not the same as their suffering. They suffered more. Their slavery was different than our slavery. And Rosa Parks, even though she did a heroic act and it cost her her freedom, there were other dark-skinned Black women that came before her, and they did the same thing. But Rosa Parks' light skin afforded her all this privilege that it didn't afford the other dark-skinned people that did it before her. So they were more heroic than Rosa Parks, and they are the ones that deserve the fame and not her. Now, don't get me wrong. What's happening in today's time is nowhere near as horrific and traumatic as what happened during the time of segregation. There certainly isn't any lynchings or violence or sitting in the back of the bus or people going to jail or being murdered because they're a different skin tone. But what is present is the same symptoms. By saying things like we're the strongest, we're the fastest, we're the most desired, lack of compassion for MLS people, and invalidating our experiences throughout history and in present day. Telling us to get out of their spaces because they felt that nobody wanted to hear anything from mixed or light-skinned people. We were crying light-skinned tears and we're privileged and nobody cares. So get out of our spaces. You are more than welcome to go and create your own spaces. But they said it with arrogance, thinking that the opposite would happen. They thought that we would fall on our faces and that our channels would flop and we would never have a voice and that nobody cared about us. They are the real authentic Blacks, and we're just some Black knockoff and that we needed them, so they withheld their support. They withheld their promotion or compassion or love for us. But the way God works, He exalts the poor to shame the rich. He exalts the weak to shame the strong. You may be on top today, and nobody cares about you tomorrow. And that's what they didn't consider because they were blinded by their own arrogance. And now that the exotical community is popping, they don't know what to do. MLS people have a wealth of abilities and gifts and talents to offer not only the black community but the world. Now that they see that we're popping and people are listening to us and they actually care about what we have to say, they're losing their shit. They do what they do best. They hurl attacks and insults at us. Being mixed race is most definitely a flex because mixed race people can navigate the world in ways that you cannot. They have advantages that the average black person does not have. Say if I'm Blasian and one of my parents is black and the other one is Korean, I have an advantage or privilege because I understand the black mindset and I understand the Korean mindset. I know how Koreans move and I know how blacks move. I understand AAVE and I understand both the colloquial and the proper way to speak Korean. So I can move around way better than you can. And you can call it a flex or a privilege. Call it whatever you want, but as long as you're in your same single one-track mind way of doing things and you don't want to expand or learn about other parts of yourself or learn different languages and actually connect to other cultures, then you're going to be sitting in the same spot with no growth and no progression. So the threat of losing their perceived power over this sector of the black community is what got them shook, and they're going to continue to attack us. But we have the same strength, endurance, and resilience that they have because we are part black. And we too will flourish. So stay strong and continue to raise your MLS voices. Because if nobody else cares about us, we care about us. And we have to support each other because we are all we have.